We always stand with our heels together, feet at a 45-degree angle, and holding up 2 fingers on the right, 5 on the left, perpendicular. Repeat after me. Allah, the Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector,
My protector,
my guide, and my salvation. By night and by day. Through his holy prophet, through Ali. Amen. Islam want to announce that this meeting is now open. This is the Moorish Science Temple of America, Muslim Mission 30, Columbus, Ohio. First and foremost, we always rise and give the highest praise to the Most High, our Father, God, Allah. We extend honors to our divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali, for bringing us our divine creed and nationality. We also extend honors to the forerunner to the prophet, our dear brother Marcus Mosiah Garvey, for preparing the way for purity and love. We extend honors to all the Adept Sheiks and all the faithful Moors that make up the grand body of the Moorish Divine National Movement. We extend honors also to the first appointed Supreme Grand Sheikh by our prophet, our dear brother E. Millie Ill, and also honors to the current Supreme Grand Sheikh and Grand Council of the Moorish Science Temple of America. And as always, honors to all the faithful here in this meeting right now. Islam. All right, Islam, Brother Jackson Bey, would you please read our divine constitution and bylaws?
Islam Sheikh, I rise giving perfect praise to Allah and honor to the Prophet Drew Ali, honors to the forefathers and foremothers, and honors to the Asiatic nations and the Muslims all over the world. Salvation, Allah, unity, the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine Constitution and Bylaws. Act 1, the Grand Sheikh and the Chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is empowered to make law and enforce law with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The Assistant Grand Sheikh is to assist the Grand Sheikh in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Act 2, all meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on the Friday, the first man was formed in flesh, and on the Friday, the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No member is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4, all members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are part and partial of the government and must live a life accordingly. Act 5, this organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6, with us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and partial of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slave holders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites, whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7, all members must promptly attend their meetings and become part and partial of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his father, God Allah. Noble Drew Ali, founder Moorish American prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. The Moorish Science Temple of America, Home Office of Noble Drew Ali, Home Office, Chicago, Illinois, USA. Islam, Islam, Islamism. Happy Sunday, Muslims.
All right, gratitude, brother. Brother Kobe, would you please read our writs?
Islam, Grand Sheikh, I rise to give perfect praise to our great God Allah, rise to give honor to our prophet, Noble Drew Ali, rise to give honors to the forerunner, Marcus Messiah Garvey, rise to give honors to all ills and bays, all Moors on the call, all Moors on the planet. To be proclaimed in every meeting, Islam. I am glad to know I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation. They claimed that I was a joke and unreal. But now, since they found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that pay their divine respects to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance, and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam. This is instructions from your prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Be faithful unto your forefather divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is on now, but the weak can comprehend it not. The end of times are drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I, Noble Drew Ali, and that is why many hearts have turned to stone. Many have eyes to see, but cannot see, ears to hear, but cannot hear. Least they'll be confounded of their sins. These are the trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temple. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good work. Peace. Your divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Prophet warns all Muslims to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members they must end all radical speeches while at work, in their homes, and on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards to Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be a severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet, or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their rewards from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali, and if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans. They do their part in protecting the prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace. Noble Drew Ali. Islam, Islam, Islamism. Happy Sunday, Muslims.
Gratitude, brother, gratitude. Sister Lachey L, would you please read our additional laws?
Islam, peace. I rise and I give all praise to the great Father God Allah, honors to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, honors to the forerunner, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, honors to all Muslims on the call, and honors to everything that is Moorish, questionnaires, and additional laws for the Moorish Americans by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Act 1, Grand Sheikhs and governors and heads of all temple, all business. Each said temple must be approved by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Before acting upon by any members, let it be finance, property, or any line of life that will cause the members to sacrifice finance, etc., that will cause the support of any group of members. Any formal officer that violates these laws is subject to be removed from his office under a heavy restriction, etc., by the Prophet or the Grand Sheikh. Act 2, all members are to attend their adept meetings and their public meetings promptly. If a member is found standing around on their meeting period, she'll be fined 50 cents on the first case, and on the second, he will be fined $1, which will go on your emergency fund. If member is working, his monthly dues must be paid, and if he has money in the bank, he must subscribe for as much as he is able to the Moorish uplifting funds, because it takes finance to uplift the nation. Act 3, it is the lawful and divine duty of every good member, if he is able in finance, to aid me in saving the nation. And if he does not, he is an enemy to the cause of uplifting his own people, and justice must catch you. Let it be he or she, according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, as I have the power invested in my hands, and I will have to enforce the law in order to save the nation. Act 4, all members, while up making a public speech, must not use any assertion against the American flag or speak radical against the church or any member of any organized group, because we are to teach love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Act 5, all members must promptly attend their meetings and send their children to Sunday school, and the teacher must confirm himself to the questionnaire, and let every member exercise his 5 senses who is able to do so, because out of your Sunday school comes the guiders of the nation. Act 6, with us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we're teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, Black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7, all members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and a parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple. Then you're entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God, Allah. Islam, peace and love.
Islam and gratitude, sister. A divine warning by the prophet for the nations. The citizens of all free national governments, according to their national constitution, are all of one family, bearing one free national name. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and are subject to all inferior names and abuses and mistreatments that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the names and the principles that delude to slavery. I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways and go back to the state of mind to their forefathers' divine and national principles, that they will be law abiders and receive their divine rights as citizens according to the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. They are to claim their own free national name and religion. There is but one issue for them to be recognized by this government and of the earth, and it comes only through the connection of the Moorish divine national movement, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all other nations of the world. And through it, they and their children can receive their divine rights unmolested by other citizens, that they can cast a free national ballot at the polls under the free national constitution of the state's government, and not under a granted privilege, as has been the existing condition for many generations. You who doubt whether I, the prophet, and my principles are right for the redemption of my people, go to those that know the law in the city hall and among the officials in your government, and ask them under an intelligent tone, and they will be glad to render you a favorable reply, for they are glad to see me bring you out of darkness into light. Money doesn't make the man. It is free national standards and power that makes a man and a nation. The wealth of all national governments, gold and silver and commerce, belong to the citizens alone. And without your national citizenship by name and principles, you have no true wealth. And I am hereby calling on all true citizens that stand for a free national free government and the enforcement of the Constitution to help me in my great missionary work, because I need all support from all true American citizens of the United States of America. Help me to save my people who have fallen from the constitutional laws of the government. I am depending on your support to get them back to the constitutional fold again, that they will learn to love instead of hate, and will live according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, supporting our free national constitution of the United States of America. I love my people, and I desire their unity and mine back to their own free national and divine standard, because day by day they have been violating the national and constitutional laws of their government by claiming names and principles that are unconstitutional. If Italians, Greeks, English, Chinese, Japanese, Turks, and Arabians are forced to proclaim their free national name and religion before the constitutional government of the United States of America, it is no more than right that the law should be enforced upon all other American citizens alike. In all other governments, when a man is born and raised there and asks for his national descent name, and if he fails to give it, he is misused, imprisoned, or exiled. Any group of people that fail to answer up to the constitutional standards of law by name and principles, because to be a citizen of any government, you must claim your national descent name, because they place their trust upon issue and names formed by their forefathers. The word Negro deludes in the Latin language to the word nigger, the same as the word colored deludes to anything that is painted, varnished, and dyed. And every nation must bear a national descent name of their forefathers, because honoring thy fathers and thy mothers, your days will be lengthened upon this earth. These names have never been recognized by any true American citizens of this day. Through your free national name, you are known and recognized by all nations of the earth that are recognized by said national government in which they live. The 14th and 15th Amendments brought the North and South in unit, placing the Southerners who were at that time without power with the constitutional body of power. And at that time, 1865, the free national constitutional law that was enforced since 1774 declared all men equal and free. And if all men are declared by the free national constitution to be free and equal, since that constitution has never been changed, there's no need for the application of the 14th and 15th Amendments for the salvation of our people and citizens. So there isn't but one supreme issue for my people to use to redeem that which was lost, and that is through the above statements. Then the lion and the lamb can lie down together in yonder hills, and neither will be harmed, because love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice will be reigning in this land. In those days, the United States will be one of the greatest civilized and prosperous governments of the world. But if the above principles are not carried out by the citizens and my people in this government, the worst is yet to come, because the great God of the universe is not pleased with the works that are being performed in North America by my people, and this great sin must be removed from the land to save it from enormous earthquakes, diseases, etc. And I, the prophet, do herein believe that this administration of the government being more wisely prepared by more genius citizens that believe in their free national constitution and laws, and through the help of such classes of citizens, I, the prophet, truly believe that my people will find the true and divine way of their forefathers and learn to stop serving carnal customs and merely ideas of man that have never done them any good, but have always harmed them. So I, the prophet, am hereby calling aloud with the divine plea to all true American citizens to help me to remove this great sin, which is being committed and is being practiced by my people in the United States of America, because they know it is not the true and divine way. And without understanding, they have fallen from the true light into utter darkness of sin. And there's not a nation on earth today that will recognize them socially, religiously, politically, or economically, etc., in their present condition of their endeavorment in which they themselves try to force upon a civilized world. They will not refrain from their sinful ways of action, and their deeds have brought Jim Crowism, segregation, and everything that brings harm to human beings on earth. And they fought the Southerner for all these great misuses. But I have traveled in the South and have examined conditions there, and it is the works of my people continuously practicing the things which bring dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives the life. And I'm hereby calling on all true American citizens for moral support and finance to help me in my great missionary work to bring my people out of darkness into marvelous light. From the prophet. Right, Islam Morris. How many of you have heard the general laws and the supreme laws? Has everybody heard that before, read those? Okay, let's go over it real briefly. It's in the Moorish literature book, okay? So it's in the Moorish literature book. If you have your Moorish literature, you can look in there and read it along with me if you'd like. General laws, as said by the prophet, the head of all temples are to give an account once a month of all finances into the grand body. The grand sheikh, grand sheikhess, or governor and grand governor of any said temple are to work hand in hand and intercede that the prophet is the law. They are to know that they are part of the law and must obey. The heads of all temples are to by force refrain from all wrath words, profanity in the mildest form from his members. They must live the life of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and refrain from all alcoholic liquors or any other harmful things that will terminate to destroy peace or any other of the divine principles. They are not to contribute anything that will cause the public to disagree with he or she. If there are children, you must see to their support. Follow this principle, for if you don't restrict to this great divine principle, then you are not a true Moor. The heads are not to charge for membership or to overcharge for cards, buttons, or anything issued by the prophet. I have heard of many who charge for membership. Those are not Moors, but robbers. Membership, sisters and brothers, is free, not here, but all over the world. The button is 25 cents, card 25 cents, and 1 month dues is paid. Every member pays 50 cents a month dues. This money goes towards the support of the temple. This, if not paid, does not entitle you to the protection provided for you, and especially so if you are in working condition. If you refuse to carry out the duty assigned you, how can you expect money and help when you are sick? Think this over, Morris. All sheiks, grand sheiks, must prepare for the prophet before he comes to visit, must see to it that all is clean and perfect, or else don't send for him. All members should pay from 25 to 50 cents weekly towards the emergency fund. This fund will work up to $1,000 before you know it. That is if you are loyal, Morris. The emergency fund goes into the bank. The treasurer and trustee will tend to that responsibility. Put it in the bank, yes, and under the name of the Moorish Science Temple of America Finance. When needed, act according to law pertaining to the procedure of performing an emergency act. No head of any said temple is to borrow from any member more than from $5 to $10 unless by notification of grand body or the prophet the necessity for the loan. The heads of all temples must conform to these laws in action in the guidance of any said group or temple. When any said temple desires to purchase property, trustees and the board must be notified, and it must be purchased under the name of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No individual name should be applied. I, Noble Drew Ali, am responsible for all purchases of land, buildings, etc. Let me, the prophet, then know what is on me. Some of you have slipped drastically, so you had better lace up your shoes before I get there. Everything, every business transaction or anything pertaining to finance is done in the name of the Moorish Science Temple of America or Noble Drew Ali. Do you understand what I say? We Moors must maintain a grand treasurer, just as in the days of our forefathers. Then you are a nation. Until then, you are nothing. Furthermore, the emergency fund is issued by no books, but by an emergency card punched according to the contribution, then marked on the book. That is the law, and the law must live. The government is behind me, and I must get behind you. For my mission is to save you, Moors. Just as you saw that man put down $20 last night, so there are men waiting to put down thousands of dollars for the progress of this divine movement. Then I, in turn, use it among the temples, seeing that you are comfortable. I can show many illustrations. I have demonstrated that you can use my money if your heart is right, pure, and just. So this is a New Year celebration. Turn over a new leaf, you Moors. This is the beginning of new business. Heads of all temples, grand sheikhs, grand sheikhs, must confirm themselves to the divine principles: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. They must live the life among the members and be loved by them as even the prophet is loved. They must not practice the principle of segregation among any group in his or her temple. Would that be a good Moor? Let it be he or she that is head of any temple of the Moorish Science Temple of America, that there come any grievance. Notify the prophet instantly and do not attempt to quit among yourselves. All heads of all temples are to constrict and conform to these laws. Islam, and those are general laws from the prophet. Next, I'm just going to read supreme laws from the prophet. If you haven't seen these before, it's in the Moorish literature book. All right. All governors and grand sheikhs and head officials, the guide, excuse me. What? Stick up in here, hang on. Hang on, Morris. Okay. All right, all governors and grand sheikhs and head officials of anybody of Moors of the Moorish Science Temple of America, he or she must be of moral standard and have a heart of love, and their works must be of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. They are to imitate the prophet in speech and teaching in any said temple. They must not be under the influence of intoxicating liquors or any other harmful motive that will terminate to become a detriment to this organization. It must not be known that any leader is staying away from home or neglecting his duty at home, or must allow the public to know of their wrongdoings. They must forever live the life of love at home, and it must be known by all members. They must not speak rash words or use profane language in the mildest form before any other individuals, because a leader without influence of good works cannot be a leader. And to be a real Moorish leader, you must study the Quran and the divine constitution that is handed down unto you by me, the prophet. No finance businesses are to be opened with any group of members of any temple by the governor or grand sheikh or whosoever is in charge without the consultation of me, the prophet. All uplifting funds, books are to be issued only through me, the prophet, because that money is to finance the Moorish movement. The head of any temple can maintain an emergency fund, which cannot exceed the amount of from 25 to 50 cents per week, a week per member. All public collections and dues also to the supporting of each said temple and its domestic works. No finance books are to be served in any temple except by the prophet. And if any leader or head of any temple fails to obey these laws, embezzlement is his charge and is subject to the enforcement of the grand body. And a penalty may be a fine or removal from office or placed under a heavy restriction of the law. Supreme words of the prophet, Noble Drew Ali. When it says in throughout these laws, when it says you must consult with the prophet before opening a business or etc, something of that nature. Basically, the way you consult with the prophet now is by going to the laws, right? It must be done according to our divine laws. And that's what I take from that. That's what's being said. So just wanted to share that just in case you have not come across those before. I advise everybody to go through Moorish literature, to read that, study that at your free time. Let's go ahead and go over the Koran Questionnaire. We're just gonna briefly go over questions 1 through 20. Before we do that though, let me show you something. All right, so you may have heard this mentioned before. Similar to the Koran Questionnaire, right? For people that desire to become citizens of the United States, they have 100 questions, right? 100 civics questions for the naturalization tests, right? Just wanted to show you this. This is actually from the from a .gov site, right? And basically, this is the U.S. citizenship and immigration test, like for them to get citizenship here. Okay, just wanted you to see that. It says that basically applicants are given these 100 questions, right? They have to answer all of them below. They have to get a certain amount correct. I think they have to study all of them, matter of fact. I don't think they know which questions they're gonna get asked, but they're told to study all of these, right? So they get an oral test and then, you know, they just pick like 10 of them or something like that. But just wanted to show you that because this is something that's been going on here for a while when people are coming in, right? They have to study civics. They have to learn about the culture of this nation. And so it's similar to what we do with the Quran questions, okay? We have to understand it because it's not good enough to just, obviously, just to say you're Moorish American, right? Or say you're Moor or whatever. People were saying all types of stuff because people were getting the information from all over the place. But none of these people would be saying anything if the Prophet Noble Drew Ali didn't come and start this actual movement. So it doesn't matter what people are morphing it into now. Now, people are Washita and all this other stuff. It's still, it all came from the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. So if you are a real Moorish American, you must know what that means. And then it's not so that we can go and get tested and prove it to the government, right? We need to prove this to ourselves because we have to build our nation. No one else is going to build it for us, right? Like if you come into the temple, let's just keep it real. This is the temple right here. The people who are here, the people in this meeting right now, and maybe a few others that couldn't make it, that's the temple. It's just us, real people who are concerned. That's why we're doing this. It's not like, you know, some big time organization with all this finance, right? That can, just, oh, what do you need here? We got it. No, it's us. And we have to figure out what the prophet brought to us, and we have to build it. All right. And so if we don't understand what this means, it's nothing. It doesn't even work. So that's why this was set up. And that's why the prophet held up the Koran Questions, the divine constitution in the Quran, and said, he's brought us everything that we need for our salvation. And it was those 3 documents, because he's letting us know we need to understand that inside and out. That's all we need to do, is know who we are. It's not so we can take some government test to get a pass, or, file some paperwork with them that they're going to suddenly do something that's unrealistic, right? We know they're not going to just up and just give us anything. It's not how it works, right? This is for us to save ourselves. All right. So, you can't, just for example, you can't be a Moorish American, a true Moorish American, and you out here sagging your pants looking ridiculous, right? Looking like a buffoon, right? Making Moors look bad, right? So this is important for us. Now, let's go ahead and go in here. Okay. Question 1, who made you? Allah. Who is Allah? Allah is the father of the universe. Can we see him? No. Where's the nearest place we can meet him? In the heart. Who is Noble Drew Ali? He is Allah's prophet. What is a prophet? A prophet is a thought of Allah manifested in flesh. What is the duty of a prophet? To save nations from the wrath of Allah. Who is the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America? Noble Drew Ali. Where was the Moorish Science Temple of America founded? What year was the Moorish Science Temple of America founded? 1913 AD. Where? Newark, New Jersey. Where was Noble Drew Ali born? In the state of North Carolina, 1886. What is his nationality? Moorish American. What is your nationality? Moorish American. Why are we Moorish Americans? Because we are descendants of Moroccans and born in America. For what purpose was the Moorish Science Temple of America founded? For the uplifting of fallen humanity. How did the prophet begin to uplift Moorish Americans? By teaching them to be themselves. What is our religion? Islamism. Is that a new or old time religion? We know it's the old time religion. What kind of flag is the Moorish? It is a red flag with a 5-pointed green star in the center. What do the 5 points represent? Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Okay, so this is important for us to all understand. Right? So every Moorish American, or everybody who's claiming to be Moor, if they're not faking the funk, they should know who made them, right? Anybody tells you, oh yeah, I'm a Moor too. First question you should ask them is, who made you? Right? And we are supposed to know Allah. And then when you say Allah, are you talking about the arm, leg, arm, head? Because you could twist things around to make that connection, and it'll make sense. I'm not even knocking it. But are you talking about the arm, leg, arm, head? No. Right? Who is Allah? No, you're talking about the father of the universe, the sustainer of all of this. Right? We're not limiting it to something that's within the body. We're not limiting it to something that can be seen with the eyes. We're talking about the spiritual realm. Okay? We're talking about something that goes even beyond this. So some people, that may be a reach for them to understand that there's an unseen portion. The unseen is even greater than the seen. And when I say that, I mean the unseen predates this physical manifestation. This all emanated from that. So it's even greater than that. And so you can't perceive the unseen with our fleshly eyes. So we're talking about the creator, sustainer of all that. So no, we can't see him. But where's the nearest place we can meet him? It's in the heart. That doesn't necessarily mean the heart that's pumping in your chest. Right? I don't even see it like that at all. And I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, put that on me. Don't put that on the prophet. Don't put that on the temple. But if I'm looking at this, that we can meet him in the heart, the nearest place we can meet Allah is in the heart. This is reminding us that within us, that's where we can meet Allah. And if anyone's ever opened their third eye before, okay, your third eye opens every night when you're in deep REM sleep, rapid eye movement, when you're having dreams, it's open, okay? But if you've done that consciously, you know, okay, this is where I can meet Allah. You know immediately, because everything shifts and changes. Your whole reality, your whole consciousness is altered. This is why I'm saying, Morris, we need to do this. All of us need to do this. Put this into practice. Get used to opening the third eye. Because this is, we have this in here. It's like directions for us. Where's the nearest place we can meet him? That's what I'm saying. It's not in the physical heart that's pumping the blood. All right. So when I was a child, they used to have these commercials that said, Ohio is the heart of it all. Right? Right. So that was, see, that shows how old I am. Right. They did that in the 80s. Ohio, the heart of it all. Okay. And they were saying that because they're insinuating like the Midwest. It's in the middle. It's not necessarily the geographic center, but it is the middle, because when you go through the Western United States, all of that stuff is empty. Right? Anybody ever drove cross country? Okay, I've done that twice. Most of the stuff you driving through desert, you're driving through these little towns that look like ghost towns, little towns that have like 100 people in them. And then just vast stretches of land where there's nobody. Right, so population-wise, it's California, maybe a little bit in Oregon and Washington, and you've got little pockets like Las Vegas. The rest of Nevada is so barren, it looks like Mars. All right, so you got these little pockets where people's at, Texas, you know, and then just barren land. So this is like the heart when you're looking at where the people actually live at. Most people in the East Coast and throughout the Southeast, it's the middle. That's why they called it the heart of it all. Okay, and when you look at the pineal, it's in the center of the brain, like literally. It's the heart. So not necessarily talking about the, you know, the heart pumping the blood. It's the heart. It's in the middle of the brain, the center. Okay, and this has always been known by our ancestors, but the Prophet Noble Drew Ali had to come and return this to us, right? Because we're following after people who got any little understanding they had of civilization, they got it from our ancestors. So we learning from them now, which means we don't know anything. So the prophet had to return this understanding to us. Okay, you know, the heart, that's where you can meet Allah. But you know, he's speaking and he's letting it be known. But also, if we're too profane in the mind, you don't get the message either, right? Where's the heart? You're not even thinking. So he's talking about the pineal gland, if you ask me. Okay, and now I'm saying, Morris, the easiest way to open the pineal is to sit in the tent before you go to sleep at night, to say to yourself, you're talking to yourself, to say, hey, I want to open my third eye. And your body will listen. It will wake you up in the middle of the night. And most of us will just fall right on back asleep. But if you just lay there still and tell your third eye to open, it will. And that's how you know that's the nearest place you can meet Allah, because that's when you start vibrating so fast, you know, and starting to feel connected to everything in existence. And when you can go to yourself to ask any questions, this is when you can, if you're struggling with anything, you can pose these questions to your higher self and be shown the answer. So we always have this ability. A lot of people's not going to tell you that. We always have this ability. Okay. And so Yeah, that's the nearest place we can meet Allah. So you don't have to go to church. You don't have to go to the temple. You definitely don't have to go through me. I'm just like you, right? You don't have to go through me when you can go directly to the source. Not saying your pineal is the source. That's the nearest place where we can meet him. Okay? The nearest place. So I'm saying, Morris, we should all be doing that. Everybody needs to get to work on that. All right. And then we're given an understanding who is Noble Drew Ali. For us, he is Allah's prophet. And then we're getting the understanding on what is a prophet. So you don't have to go ask somebody else, right? If you're going to ask somebody from Iran, they might tell you this, and then they're going to tell you that Noble Drew Ali is not a prophet because there's a seal on the prophets, even though in the Quran, we got 6 times where Allah says he sends a prophet to everyone, every people, and raises a prophet from amongst them, speaking their language, understanding what they're going through, right? So you don't have to go to anyone else, right? We have, when the prophet is speaking, he's delivering the divine message from Allah. So he's letting it be known, okay, well, what is a prophet? A prophet is a thought of Allah manifested in flesh. And what is the duty of a prophet? So you don't have to go and ask anyone else, what do they do? Not saying don't do any research, just saying we had an answer. To save nations from the wrath of Allah. All right. So he founded right after to save the nations from the wrath of Allah, it says he founded the Moorish Science Temple of America. So that lets you know he founded it to save our nation from the wrath of Allah. Maybe even to save several nations from the wrath of Allah, because there's Moors all throughout the Caribbean, South Central America as well, right? What year was it founded? Right? We know what was going on in the early 1900s. Jim Crow. We know it wasn't all good. So this was part of the wrath that he came to save us from, because that's what was going on then, and still in a form is going on right now. Right? He founded it in Newark, New Jersey. I've heard people say that's New Ark, New Jerusalem. It's one of the 3rd oldest cities in the United States of America. And this is where he set up the temple. I believe it used to be called the Canaanite Temple. Okay. And that, that was located on 12th Avenue and Record Street. So the prophet, though, letting it be known, he was born in the state of North Carolina, 1886. That's important, because we understand, right, that prophets come from amongst the people. Allah raises a prophet from amongst the people and speaking their language, understanding what they're going through. How else can he help them get right if he doesn't understand what they went through, right? So no foreigner, I mean, not saying that people that from other countries are, not saying anything bad about them, but they don't really understand or care about our plight. And who could blame them? They got their own issues. So he understood. And then he gave us the tools that we need. All right. And then part of it, what's his nationality? What's our nationality? It's all the same. We're Moorish Americans. And then why? Our line of descent is established. Now here, why are we Moorish Americans? Because we're the descendants of Moroccans and born in America. We know that may be the explanation that just needs to be given to people. Okay, because you can't go in deep and break down chapter 47 to everybody. It's just, look, man, we're the descendants of Moroccans and born in America. And for the average person, for 97% of the people out there, look, all the Africans, most of the ones that were brought over here from West Africa, they were Muslims, okay? Or their people were Muslims, even if they weren't. All right, doesn't matter. You're talking about Timbuktu, you're talking about Senegal, any of these places, because they just say West Africa. West Africa is a huge, massive land, okay? But most of those people were Moors, period. And that's really the best explanation, because come on, let's keep it real, man. People, you can't tell them about Atlantis and all this stuff. Us being here before the continent split apart, that's too much information. And you don't cast pearls to swine, and not calling people swine but we just got to keep it real, right? Too much information. We don't want to give too much information because then you're wasting your time and theirs. All right. And the more we talk, the more they're angry. So just keep it simple. Descendants of Moroccans and born in America. Right. But yeah, for us, we know, hey, Act 6, the Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. That's for us. And then we know in chapter 47, verse 6 and 7, the Moabites from the land of Moab who received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle and inhabit northwest Africa. They were the founders and are the true possessors of the Moroccan Empire with their Canaanite, Hittite, and Amorite brethren who sojourned from the land of Canaan seeking new homes. Their dominion and inhabitation extended from northeast and southwest Africa, right? So we're not trying to act like no connection to Africa. It went from there across the great Atlantis, even into the present North, South, and Central America, and also Mexico and the Atlantis Islands before the great earthquake, which caused the great Atlantic Ocean. So this is for us to know. That's not necessarily for it's not hidden or anything. It's just like, come on, man. We know, too much information for most. So for what purpose was the Moorish Science Temple of America founded? For the uplifting of fallen humanity. The purpose is to intend to put forward your determination, resolution, right? To resolve or intend to accomplish or perform. So this is like being established. This is what the purpose is. The uplifting is to raise to a higher social, moral, or intellectual level. So this Moorish Science Temple of America was designed to raise us up to a higher social, moral, or intellectual level, to raise to spiritual or emotional heights. All right. The fallen humanity is, at the end of the day, it affects everyone, but we got to start with ourselves first, right? Like we necessarily shouldn't be out here like some people on social media putting out things like pray for Ukraine and all this stuff, not knocking it, not saying we wish ill on any people, just saying we have to lift ourselves up first. My wife was saying this on a show on Netflix called like Rich Stupid Africans or something. I don't know. It's got people in Africa acting like Negroes. Okay, it's rich and African or something. And they got like blonde hair. They look like they're bleaching their skin. They're doing all the dumb Negro stuff that we see our people doing here that they put on blast. They got on TV, got them on videos and everything. And it's like, this stuff is spreading around the world like a sickness. These people have culture. It's like, I see us doing it. Most of us have no idea. We don't know about this. We don't care. We don't have a culture. We just down for whatever. They have a culture and they're following it. So it's for the purpose of uplifting fallen humanity. We don't have to go over there and pray for Ghana or pray for Nigeria. They don't even, they got their own issues. We don't have to uplift them like that. We uplift them by uplifting ourselves. That's why it says in the very next question, how did the prophet begin to uplift the Moorish Americans? By teaching them to be themselves. So just in us being ourselves, we lift ourselves up. And then by default, we lift up the rest of the world. Because there's several Negroes here in this country, and it's not limited to skin color. Yeah, right, because you can't be a Negro. A Negro's a four-legged beast, right? So it's a mindset that people take on. And you have people, of European descent that think it's cool to act like that, right? People of all different ethnic backgrounds that sometimes go too far with that and take on that mentality. So we don't have to worry about them. We just have to fix ourselves. And then by fixing ourselves, then we start to affect all of these people, right? Because like when you look at this young, famous and African, it's like the women are like doing the plastic surgery. They're getting the bleaching. bleaching the skin, getting the blonde hair. The dudes, they're sagging their pants. They're doing all of this stupid, goofy stuff, wasting a bunch of money, right? And then it says it's in Johannesburg, South Africa, right? They got stupid diamond platinums. And it's like, these people have a culture. Like, what the heck are you doing? Just going backwards. You copying us. Nobody in the world should be copying us right now. Okay? Nobody. Right? We are insane. We are insane. And so once we get it together, once we pick it up, once we become Moors for real, not just for pretend, right? There's Moors I saw Moor like a year or two ago, and he had his fez on, and he's out there doing something stupid, like maybe he's talking to the police because he don't have a license or something stupid. But this dude's pants were down so low, it was just ridiculous. It's like pants down to his knees. And it's like, oh my God, man. Come on, man. Take that fez off your head. This is not what we want to put out to the world. This is not what we want to put out for ourselves. So this is why the prophet began to uplift the Moorish Americans by teaching them to be themselves. By being ourselves, we affect, of course, us. That's most important, right? We're not all worried about everybody else. We fix us. And since everybody's copying us and looking to us, even in our fallen state, looking to us and following us, they will begin to uplift themselves too. Not down in anyone, just being honest. Why in the world with people who have a culture, they have names that have meaning. They're not named after colonizers. Why are they trying to take on all of the stuff that we're doing? Why? Right? So they're insane too. So we have to fix ourselves, and then, we uplift the rest of fallen humanity. Right? So that's really what it's about. So just so that nobody gets that twisted, it's not like we're trying to go out and save the world being stupid. That would be foolish when we don't even have our stuff on lock, right? So we're fixing ourselves. And by default, then these other people who bleaching their skin and doing all this foolishness, trying to look like us, then they will start to, wake up and say, oh, okay, it's cool to take care of your families and to handle your business and to be good and upstanding, right? Instead of them thinking it's cool to act like a criminal and to be degenerate. All right. And so we're returning to our religion. So that's another thing too, because I'm not trying to make people feel bad if they're, some other religion or anything, but we're returning to the root, right? We know that Islam, at the root word, Islam means peace. Ism is the condition of being. So you could translate this, even though I know Islamism, in some dictionaries, they'll say this is a political form of Islam. But if you just translate that, just the peace and ism, that means the condition of being at peace. We're making this a way of life. It is not just for show. Okay, we're doing it for real. And that's why the next question is saying, is this the old time religion? It's the old time. That means it existed. It predated even what the Prophet Muhammad brought, right? Because in the Quran, as revealed to the Prophet Muhammad, it will tell you that Adam Adam predates all of them, right? It'll tell you that Abraham, all of these prophets were Muslims. They were all practicing Islam. That's what it tells you. And so how could, the Prophet establish Islam if it already existed? So he helped to spread it. He helped to set up the rules and standards, the laws, okay? For people who were at that time, the Persians were far gone, okay? In the Quran, it says that they were the biggest hypocrites. So he established this, helped to civilize these people, all right? But the religion, the real practice of peace, being at oneness with the universe, come on, this is ancient. This isn't limited to this planet, right? There's Muslims all over the galaxy. If you ever seen that movie with Riddick, right? The Chronicles of Riddick, they're on another planet, right? And they're Muslims, they're Moors. Okay, pitch black. They're down praying, to the east. Okay, and they were doing it all over the galaxy. because this is universal. Peace. There's nobody that can, have ownership of that. All right. And this is from our prophet, meaning this is from Allah. He speaks for Allah. What kind of flag is the Moorish? It is a red flag with a 5-pointed green star in the center. So if anybody's flying anything different from that, they're doing their own thing. And I'm not knocking it, but why would you want to create something new when we have something divine that was returned to us by a divine prophet from Allah? He's got divine instructions. He was flying the flag in the 1920s when Morocco, the present day state of Morocco, wasn't flying that flag. Okay. They weren't even flying it. So they don't have ownership of it. Not saying that what they have isn't legit, just saying that we really are Moors and nobody can take that from us. This is real. If anybody else was doing it, they would have tried to blow this up by now. The only reason it's at the point that it's at where we have to start from square one is because it's us. And we fell. Not trying to, get down on us, just keeping it real. It's us. We fell, and now we got to build it back up. And that's why, nobody's trying to help us. They're trying to hide it. They still trying to hide it. They still won't talk about Prophet Noble Drew Ali at all, right? They're not going to do it. They're not going to teach that. It's still being hidden. It's still being stagnated. And so that's why, right? We have to do it. We have to champion it. That's why the prophet said, keep him out front. They keeping him in the closet. They keeping him in the basement. We're supposed to be proud. We're supposed to keep him out front. It's not supposed to be something that you do in secret. You're supposed to do it with your children, and your children are supposed to understand why this is important, why it's not a game. Nobody came to us. And still in 2022, nobody cares about us. Even the people who fly the little Black Lives Matter, we drove past a house of Europeans and they got the Black Lives Matter thing out. And it's like, whatever, that's cool. I'm not knocking them, but nobody cares. They don't care. Okay? Because people feel comfortable because you got somebody at the bottom. They know that they're not getting gunned down. And at the end of the day, that makes people feel comfortable, right? Nobody wants to be at the bottom. And it feels good to have somebody else down there. And at the end of the day, that's how most people see it. Even those who are friends and, well-wishers, that's at the end of the day, they just glad it ain't them. Okay? So nobody else is going to tell us this. This is why we have to champion it. All right? That's why we have to know what the 5 points represent. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and know that these are universal divine principles. And that we aren't just to say it, we're supposed to live off of this. We're supposed to do our daily thoughts are supposed to be within these bounds of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. So that if I'm going to do something to you that's wrong, it shouldn't even occur because I have to stop and think, like, does this fit within love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice? And if it's not, then I can't do it because I'm a real Muslim, because I practice the old time religion. And sometimes we fall short. Okay, but at the end of the day, that's what we're supposed to conduct ourselves by on a daily basis. On that note, I yield the floor. If anyone has any questions, any comments, anything you would like to share, feel free to speak up. Islam. All right, Islam Moors, don't be shy. If you anything, even if it's not related to the questions, feel free to speak. Islam.
Peace, Lachey L. I have a question about when your third eye does open, can others see it?
Islam, if they can, they have some magical powers because it's like it's spiritual, so it's the unseen. If your third eye was open right now, I would not be able to tell. Maybe my wife just said she would know. I wouldn't know. I would not be able to. I would not be able to see it. So it's just something for you. It's it's an experience for you personally, your personal relationship with God. Okay. But I'll tell you just from experience, not only will you see it, or maybe not, well, you know what? Maybe you will see it, but you'll feel it. For you, it'll be very real. You'll actually feel that eye open up almost in the middle of your forehead a little bit, in between your where your two eyes are, but up a little bit. You'll feel it. And you'll feel there's nothing to be scared of, because you know this is like the meeting place for Allah. There's nothing wrong with it. Our ancestors have known about this who knows how long. They actually etched this in stone because they didn't want us to forget. This is where you can meet Allah. All right. So while you know, like you might not necessarily see it like in cartoons and stuff like that, you know, but you'll feel it, and it's very real. And I'll say this about the spiritual realm: it's realer than this physical world. And the only way, because I can't explain it well enough, but the only thing I know is that when you experience it, you'll understand what I'm trying to convey. When you have these types of spiritual experiences, you'll realize that that realm is realer than all of this, and that there is nothing to fear. There's no death. It's not real. There's nothing to be scared of. And that, you know, that's another reason why I'm saying, Morris, give this a try. It's very real. Islam. All right. Yeah. So yeah, if anyone has anything else, any questions, anything you'd like to say, feel free to speak. Okay. So one thing I'll say in closing, like this feeling, right? When people are abusing drugs, doing stuff, they say they're getting high, right? This is what people are chasing. They want to have a spiritual experience. They want to know there's something else going on, right? And they'll never get it. You can't get it from drugs and stuff like that. Even in psychedelic drugs and psychedelic plants and things that you can that they have out there, is nothing compares to just quieting your mind and just meditating, or like I said, just telling your third eye to open at night, waking up and opening it. You don't have to buy it. You don't have to pay anybody. You don't have to ask for permission. You don't have to go anywhere. Just as it says in the Quran, you just go within, and you can get any insight, any questions, anything that you need answered. There's no limits as to what can be shown or revealed to you. And so, you know, and you don't have to go through any test or pass any test. You don't have to, you know, no, you could do it right now. And it doesn't matter if you're a child or an adult. Doesn't matter where you're at in life. So you know, it's open to everyone. So I would say everybody give that a try, Islam. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to say? Okay, I want to announce without further ado, we're going into the closing of the meeting. Right, all meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Everyone, please rise and face the east for the closing prayer. You do not need to repeat after me. Right, we stand with our heels together, feet 45-degree angle, holding up 2 fingers on the right, 5 on the left. Allah, bind our hearts and minds back to our ancient forefathers' divine creed and principles. We ask this in thy holy name, in the 7 Elohim. Amen. Islam. Peace and love, Moors. This meeting is now adjourned.
Peace and love, Muslims. Great Sunday school.
Peace and love.